Hello, everyone. I'm here tonight with our Madrigal Madness honorees for 2021. The honorees category is a special category for this year. It's a category that allows singers from distant lands or who have busy end of the semester teaching or performance schedules to still be able to participate in Madrigal Madness, even in this crazy time of COVID. I will talk a bit to each honoree, and then we will hear their pre-recorded selection. All of the music was chosen from early Baroque audition excerpts submitted to us, but in some cases, we were able to provide the singers with new backing tracks on period instruments in 17th century tuning and temperament to enhance their piece. Thank you to Adam Cockerham and Christa Patton for assisting with that. So now we will begin our program with the first of 6 honorees. Hi, Allie. It's so nice to be with you here today. And tell me what you've been up to during COVID, because I know a lot of singers have had to change their regular activities and things they sing. Tell me about it.
Well, I am very lucky to have had a steady church job during all of this. So even when there weren't very many productions going on, I still had a regular outlet for music making. Um, and I've taken on this past year a little bit more teaching, albeit virtual music teaching, but I've been flexing my teacher muscles a little bit more than I typically would.
So you've had some early music experience before. You're here in New York now. So tell us a little bit about that.
My first experience with early music was actually back in my school days at Manhattan School of Music. We did a production my senior year of Cavalli's La Doriclea, which was really a formative production for me. It was my first time working with period instruments. It was my first time working within the Baroque style. And I feel like I grew as a performer and as a singer, but it turned me on to the style in a way that was really important for me. And then more recently, I did some work in 2019 with Dell'Arte Opera Ensemble in a production of Francesca Caccini's La Liberazione di Ruggero. And that was my most recent Baroque opera experience. Again, a wonderful production, very colorful, and also reminding me of my love for this style of music.
But now a little birdie has told me that you don't only sing opera and early music.
That's true. That's true. While early music is a love of mine, I also have a lot of love for the jazz music, musical theater, contemporary operatic and art song works. So yes, I dabble in a bunch of different styles.
Well, you've got a lot of interest, but it sounds like early music is going to be part of your future.
Oh, I hope so. It's one of my newest loves, and I'm hoping that it's also a big part of my future.
Well, it's been really great to work with you, and we're going to hear you sing now. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, I'm here with Darrell, and he's going to tell us a little bit about where he is now and what he's been singing during COVID.
Hi, my name is Darrell. Some people also will call me DJ, so feel free to do either one. I'm in Seattle, Washington right now, and during COVID, I have been teaching virtually a studio of about 30 students, and I've been cantoring at my church and doing just really fun virtual gigs. It's funny saying fun virtual gigs, not at all what I thought I would say 2 years ago. But they're really just as rewarding as rewarding as they can be during these times. So I've given a recital at my church, just me, no one else in the building, and a couple of staged opera scenes in my living room, actually. So it's been interesting, but it's been fun.
Tell me where early music fits into the overall picture of your career.
Of course. So I cantor at St. James Cathedral here in Seattle. So in non-COVID times, that is an ensemble, a professional ensemble of 16 to 18 singers, and then a volunteer ensemble that backs us up of about 70. They do not do the early music as much, but during non-COVID times, we will always, program Palestrina or Tallis or Bird. So more so choral works I do than solo works in terms of early music. And we do that every Sunday. Now we're just doing quartets. We just moved to quartets recently, still masked, which is a little more interesting to be 1-2 apart, spaced apart by about 30 feet each way. But yeah, that is where my early music has been living these past couple of years, actually.
And what kinds of other music do you sing?
Primarily opera with sprinklings of early music and sprinklings of new music. One of my favorite composers is maybe an unknown fact is actually Philip Glass. So yeah, so I do love some of the more new/weird music out there, but I just find it fascinating and beautiful.
You're not the first person to say that they combine early music with contemporary music. That seems to be a pretty common thing these days.
I remember hearing that even back in years ago in my undergrad. I'm thinking, gosh, really? And now I see myself and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I do like to do early music and new music and opera and choir. So I like doing it all.
So pretty soon we hope we'll start getting back to normal. I don't know what it's like in Washington compared to New York, but we're actually having our first concert where we're letting a live audience in next Sunday. And I'm hoping that next year we'll be doing concerts that are both live audience and live streamed. That seems to be, unfortunately, the way of the future, so it's sort of more to manage. But what do you see yourself doing once things are a little more open?
Once things are a little more open, I would love to get back into the audition circuit. I had a really lovely 2020 booked out, and like all of us, that was demolished because of COVID. So, and most of 2021 and 2022 are going to be those makeups from 2020. So I'm looking to get back out into the audition circuit and jump back on the opera stage as soon as I can. And also still, I mentioned this to you earlier, still flirt with early music as much as I can. We will never be in a committed relationship, but we're always going to flirt and be best friends.
Fabulous. Well, now we're going to hear you sing some Purcell. So thanks for speaking with me. And now we'll hear you sing on our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I saw that you were grown so high, you forced me from your company. Though I I consented to your will, yet you of me thought not but ill. My gentle words flew to your breast, but they therein found little rest, being overcome with a false heart, which was the cause that we did part. My gentle words flew to your breast, but they therein found little rest, being overcome with a false heart, which was the cause that we did apart.
Hi, Anna Sofia. It's so great to meet you, even across, an entire giant ocean. So it's amazing that in COVID, we can do these things with people from other countries and as if we're in the same room. So tell us a little bit about where you are now.
So I'm in my country, Portugal, in a city called Porto, which is basically my home, as I was born here. And that's where I've been since I came back in the middle of the pandemic.
But where were you before the pandemic started?
I was in London.
Were you performing or studying, or what were you doing in London?
So I've been in London since 2015 because I was studying music there, classical singing. And then I graduated and I stayed there because that's how things were. You stay in the city that you graduate or you can come back home. But in my situation, I thought that it would be better to stay there. And then COVID came. Yeah,
it's a big difference for a lot of us. So what kinds of singing were you studying in London?
General singing is from many periods of history. So, for example, 19th century Romanticism, classical, even contemporary from the 20th century, Impressionism as well, a little bit of Baroque.
So are you able to sing now in Portugal, or has it been almost impossible?
Well, the cultural industry here, it's we don't have as many supports, but things open when we have when restrictions are being eased. Things start to open. So places of performance, they open again, but that's not nearly enough. Then they shut down everything again with the second lockdown, and it's been like that. So totally online.
We are so very lucky here because it's now easy to get a vaccine. Everybody I know has had both vaccinations, and next Sunday will be our first concert where we are allowing live audience in, although they'll still be masked and distanced. So I hope for the same for you. Do you think you'll be able to go back to London? Has Brexit changed anything for you?
No, because I have a residency status. Because I've been there for 5 years, so I applied for it. And so when things are more stable, I will come back.
That's great. So I'm sure you have many things that you'll be doing when you go back. Do you think you'll be singing more early music?
Probably, if the opportunities come, I will do everything that comes my way and everything that's enjoyable and fun. And, you have to do what you have to do.
It will be wonderful to sing and play music again, won't it?
Yes.
It's so nice talking to you. Now we're going to hear you sing a piece by Caccini. And thank you for speaking with me. Bye-bye. Hi, I'm here with Jack Innes, and I'd like to ask you first, Jack, about where you are now and what are some of the things you've been doing in the past months, which have been difficult months for all of us.
Hi, great to be here. So I'm currently in Madison, Wisconsin. I just finished my bachelor's in vocal performance in French, and I will say it has been a challenge to be able to keep making music, but one of the things that I've been engaged in for these past months is an independent study on a French cultural periodical from the time of Louis XIV called the Mercure Galant. And originally it started as a project over Elisabeth Jacquet de la Guerre, incredible historical figure, as you know. And I noticed that a lot of the citations in the book I was reading were from this, primary source called the Mercure Galant. I wondered, what's that? And as it turns out, a lot of sheet music was published in it, and to my knowledge, a lot of it had never been recorded. So I collaborated with my teacher, Paul Rowe, who you know too, who was so gracious to help me out with his guitar skills, and we just put together a recital. So that's been the big thing, and it's been incredibly gratifying to be able to work on.
Wow, that's great. I played with Paul Rowe back in the 1980s when I first came to New York, and we did a Cavalli opera together.
Oh, which one?
I think that was Giasone that we did. Yeah, it was wonderful. So that's great. So now I'm especially glad that I've selected your French piece to play for everybody after this little talk. But do you also have special interest in Caccini, which is more the focus of our workshop?
I do. It's relatively recent. My sophomore year, we did Monteverdi's Poppea, which really ignited my interest in this whole period. And from there, I decided, I asked Paul if I could work on a Caccini piece. And ever since then, I've been in love with his whole work as well as Francesca Caccini's work. I really just love the expression that kind of music lends itself to. It's very vulnerable in a way that I find really enticing.
And what do you think about the future? It sounds like you've kind of settled on your path and you'll just be going forwards on that.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope I'll have the chance to. As you know, the future is still, it's getting better with everybody getting vaccinated, but it's still a little uncertain. So I actually am taking a year to apply for grad school and just figure out my next step. But programs like this are a wonderful thing to do in the meantime, and I'm just so excited that we get to talk today.
Wow. So that's great. We're happy to have you, and I hope we'll see you in person in the future Madrigal Madness.
Good, right?
And now we're going to hear Jack sing some of his 17th century French music for us.
Le moment de l'absence est un moment heureux pour qui veut surmonter un penchant dangereux. Le moment de l'absence est un moment heureux pour qui veut surmonter un penchant dangereux. N'allez pas négliger un temps si favorable. Tircis peut revenir et revenir aimable.
Okay, I'm here with Anna Willson. And Anna, you're here in New York now. Can you tell us how you ended up here?
Okay, so I graduated from Boston Conservatory with my master's in 2017. And I kind of never thought I would live in New York. I thought that's the most terrifying place on the planet. It is the last place in the world that I would ever end up. And then when I graduated, I thought, well, it's close. There might be opportunities for me there. I should move there. And so, I did, and I never really looked back. I didn't think I'd stay long. I thought maybe a year, but anybody who's lived in New York for a while knows that the gravity of the place just grows stronger and stronger and sucks you in until you're just there for 10 years and you don't know how. So that's a long story. That's how I ended up in New York, just on a whim after graduation, and here I am.
What kinds of things have you been able to sing during COVID? It's been a little difficult for most singers.
Actually, I've been really fortunate during COVID. I have this new music ensemble called Aeon Ensemble, and we've always done some crazy experimental things. And that translated to an online idiom really, really well, because we've always used visual elements and had video DJs. So we've done some cool online things. And then last summer, we also took the opportunity to do an outdoors concert under the Mother Earth statue in Rockaway. And we did some pieces by Pauline Oliveros and had people participate. And so we had this big moving mass of people listening to each other and making sounds and creating music around this giant brutalist sculpture. And that was really fun. I also sing for a church choir, and they've managed to keep their online presence really active. And so that's been great.
Fantastic for you to be able to sing so much. And I think it's great that I know that with my group, I've also tried to take advantage of the possibilities that were easier because everything was video. So we did a series of educational videos about Monteverdi, for example. So I assume you probably have a graduate degree in singing that's not just early music, but many different kinds of singing.
It's very little early music. I was mostly exposed to romantic and classical, and the earliest it got was like 18th century with Bach and Handel. But I found that I did love Bach and Handel, and that led me to think, what if I went a little earlier? Maybe I'd like that, and I did.
How did you find out about early music or get really interested in it?
So I took an oratorio repertoire class at the Boston Conservatory, and that covered a little bit of early oratorio music, and I loved it. And then I just saw in the Conservatory Hall a poster for Early Music Vancouver's Vocal Arts program with Ellen Hargis. I was so green, I didn't even know who Ellen Hargis was. I just thought, well, this is early music. Vancouver is close to my home, actually, in Washington State, and I thought I can visit the parents while I'm there. And so I applied, and I didn't get in, but then they had somebody drop out and they invited me anyway. And we spent 2 weeks at UBC just living and breathing early music and looking at facsimiles, and all of it was new to me, but I loved it.
Fantastic that you got into early music with somebody who's a really great teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think early music, along with the contemporary music you're doing, do you think early music is going to be part of your future too?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to have a nice polarized career where I do lots of new music in one section And then I do lots and lots of early music in the other section. I think that they actually coexist really nicely. And I can't put my finger on exactly why. But I find that a lot of people who do one of them also tend to do the other.
I think that's really true for a lot of the singers that I've worked with. And you're actually very special because the piece that we're about to hear next, you accompany yourself, and you're the only person who's going to be doing that. So tell us how you got into that.
So actually, last year during the pandemic, I decided to meet up with my parents after I quarantined for 2 weeks in the forest. And we went on a road trip across the inland Northwest. And I was driving my parents nuts with my demand for activities. So eventually they just said, Anna, we're going to get you a ukulele. Merry early Christmas. So they gave me a ukulele just to keep me behaving. And I thought it was so fun. And then I started trying it with Renaissance repertoire, and I thought, this works. And then later, once I started picking up Renaissance guitar, I figured out, oh, it's because ukuleles are strung like Renaissance guitars. So it kind of makes sense. But I actually did that piece under the Mother Earth statue for that wild concert that we had in Rockaway. And that was kind of how I started accompanying myself with early music on a ukulele.
Oh, that's great. I think that you'll find that that was a great choice to make, and that that's going to be something that you do more of in the future. I'm quite sure. So thank you for speaking with me. And now we'll hear Anna play, accompanied by herself. Hello, I'm here with Andréa Walker, and we're going to talk a little bit about her life in music. She's here with me on Zoom, and I'm going to start with a question about what is your life like now? Like, where are you and what are you singing?
Sure. Well, I am currently in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm finishing up a Master of Music degree at the Yale Institute of Sacred Music and Yale School of Music. So, we're wrapping up classes during this time, and graduation is right around the corner. It's been a challenging year, as it has been for everybody. And this year we've gotten to focus more on intimate music making. So we've had the opportunity to work with a fabulous lutenist and theorbo player who lives in town and also works with ARTEK, Grant. And we've gotten to do some air decor and lute songs with Grant. And I've also been singing a lot of strozzi these days. But I'm so excited to be a part of this program so I can learn about some earlier Baroque, the earliest Baroque vocal music by Caccini, who was so instrumental in starting this movement of monody. So I'm very excited to dive into this sector that I have not had much experience with. So that's where I am now.
So at this point, would you say you're still a bit more of a generalist as a singer? Like, what kinds of music do you sing?
Sure. I think that this Master of Music degree has been so incredible. I've had so many different types of opportunities. And while we do focus on early music, there are other types of music that we focus on as well, like art song and new music as well, oratorio. We haven't been able to do that as much this year, but we do have opportunities to dabble in many different genres and eras and styles. And in terms of early music, I feel as though this degree has been a good survey of different styles. And I do hope to continue exploring different national styles and, hopefully eventually finding more of a niche within such a large range of repertoire.
So where do you think you're headed after you finish now at Yale? Or what are some of the things you want to try in your musical life?
Well, I'm very excited to be moving to Cleveland, and I will be starting a DMA program in historical performance practice at Case Western University. So I look forward to having more performance opportunities and exploring more early music. I'm particularly interested in Latin American Baroque music, colonial era music, and so I just would like to continue singing it and performing it, and also just getting more academic experience, which of course helps balance the performance experience as well. I also look forward to performing Baroque opera because that's something I'm very interested in. So at this point, I'm excited about continuing to grow and explore this music that I really love. I know that's very broad, but I hope that with more experience, I'll be able to find a niche.
Well, you're a beautiful singer, and I know we're going to really enjoy hearing you next sing. And I wish you all the luck with Case, and I hope you'll be back next spring for the live Madrigal Madness, where we'll probably sing 5-part madrigals. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you.
All right, and here we go to some music now with Andréa Walker.
Hi, thank you.
Sorge mia
Thank you all for listening to these wonderful young singers. Each of them is so special, and I know we'll be hearing more from them in the future. But I'm so happy to be able to make more performing opportunities right now for singers and to introduce them to the early 17th century music ARTEK loves best. We will be back with you online tomorrow, Sunday, May 23 at 4 p.m. for a live stream concert with our 6th Madrigal Madness 2021 Fellows. Join us for that performance. You will find a link on the ARTEK website, www.artekearlymusic.org. Bye.